The first thing I'd like to do before we get started is to synchronize our AutoCAD environments. This will help ensure that what you see me do on my screen will work the same way on your screen. Now, I'm currently working with a default installation of AutoCAD 2009, so at this point my screen may look a little bit different than yours. The goal is to set up our workspaces such that they're reasonably identical. So I'm going to be asking you to make some changes such that your system matches mine, but I believe in the do no harm principle, so at each point along the way I'm going to give you the opportunity to save your current setup. Let's start with our workspace. A workspace is a saved configuration of all of the tools that we see on screen. If you would like to save your current workspace, you can come down and click this gear and select Save Current As from the menu. And in this case, I'm going to call this My Original Workspace. And I'll click Save. If you've done that, you've saved your current workspace, and at any point in the future, if you'd like to return to it, you can come back down and click this gear and just select your workspace from the list. This is a stock workspace that's installed with AutoCAD 2009. Let me select this. And at this point, our screen should look reasonably identical. Now, I'd like to make a couple minor modifications to this workspace. One thing I'm going to do is remove these two icons down at the bottom of the screen. These guys represent our Model Space tab and our Layout tab. We don't need these. So I'm going to come over and click this flyout, and then I'm going to come up and remove the check from Layout and Model, and that'll remove those icons from my status bar. Now we're going to be using the property changer frequently in this title, so I'm going to bring up my property changer by hitting Control-1 on my keyboard. And then I'm going to place my cursor over this mast, and I'm going to right-click, and we'll select Anchor Left, such that he stays on my screen. At any point if I need him, I can simply hover over this margin, and he'll open up, and I have access to the settings. One more palette we'll be using frequently is the Layer Properties palette. Let me turn mine on by clicking this icon in the Layers panel. Once again, I'm going to right-click over the mast, and I'm going to select Anchor Left, such that this guy is on my screen all the time. As you can see, the top of my margin now controls my properties, and the bottom of my margin controls my Layer Manager. To make these guys take up a little less space, I'm going to right-click in the margin and select Icons Only. This reduces both palettes down to a single icon in my interface. All right, now that I've finished my workspace changes, let's save this workspace. I'm going to come down and click the gear. We'll select Save Current As, and we'll call this Linda Workspace. And I'll click Save. This way you can always come down and click this gear to flip between your original and the new workspace. Let me hit Escape to clear the menu, and now I'd like to talk about our settings. To access our settings, we're going to bring up our Options dialog box. To do that, I'm going to right-click in the middle of the screen, and I'll select Options from the menu. This is the place where we go to adjust all of the settings that control the way our AutoCAD functions. And if I click through these tabs, we can see there's literally hundreds of settings available. Now, once again, I'm going to be asking you to make some changes. Before I do that, I'm going to give you the opportunity to save all of your current settings. That's what this Profiles tab is for. Let me select Profiles. And if you'd like to save your current settings, you can come down and click Add to List. I'm going to call this My Original Settings, and I'll click Apply and Close. At any point in the future, if you'd like to restore your settings, you can simply come back to the Profiles tab, select your settings from the list, and click Set Current. Now, since we're going to be making changes, I'm going to select Unnamed Profile, such that our changes affect this profile. And the first place I'd like to go is the Display tab. I'd like you to come down and click the Colors button. This is the dialog box we can use to change some of the color properties of our interface items in AutoCAD. I'd like to change the background color of Model Space. Now, by default, those options are already highlighted. We just need to come down and click the Color flyout, and I'd like to set this to black. Having a black background in Model Space gives us much better contrast between our layer colors. Let's click Apply and Close. Notice we can see the change happen right out here. Let's go to the Selection tab. I'd like you to come down to the Selection Preview area and remove this check when no command is active. This setting causes AutoCAD to highlight our entities just by placing our cursor over them, and that can be a little bit confusing, especially if we get into a drawing with a lot of line work. This way my objects will only highlight when there's an active command. Let's click Visual Effects Settings. This controls how our objects highlight. I'm going to set this for Thicken Only, and I'll click OK. I want to make one more change. It's on the User Preferences tab. I want you to come down and click the right-click Customization button. Make sure that all of these guys are set to Shortcut, Shortcut, Shortcut. Now, these settings happen to be the defaults, so if you've never gone into this dialog before, your settings already match mine. Now that I'm finished, I'll click Apply and Close, and we'll click OK. With our settings taken care of, we can be certain that your AutoCAD should now function just like my AutoCAD. And we're ready to take a look at the tutorials. Let's get started.